Welcome to Lunch Break.
Welcome back, everyone. Thanks for joining us again. Grab that coffee, grab that burrito, whatever you eating for lunch this week. We have a guest that I love. I go way back with personally. Emmanuel, say hello to everybody.
Look at
Man,
you.
what is up, man? Thank you guys for having me on. First of all, shout outs to your guys' tech crew for
Ooh.
putting this Zoom thing together with 48 hours left. I mean, phenomenal. I heard Vince's name. I know Seth is back there. You guys did an awesome job. I'm so humbled to be on here. It's going to be a great conversation.
I
Hmm.
just have to give a shout out to Vince, who's our creative director, Seth, who's our producer. Thank you. Cohen's our sound engineer, and then Tessa and Taylor Touchstone's our creative consultants.
Yeah, a
There we
lot of
go.
people to make this go. This is what you guys don't see.
Yeah.
Man, the whole hour coming up to this point of the tech guys figuring out how to make sure he can hear our voice, you guys can hear our voice. We have some live
Man,
people here in the
Yeah, that's
audience.
cool. Live
They can hear
audience.
your
super.
voice. So shout out tech guys, they're amazing. They do things I could never do. So I love and appreciate you guys.
So, Justin and Emmanuel, we have a question from our audience last week. We had Lyle Martin Jr., and he talked about a disappointment in his life, and he got cut from the soccer team, who became a professional soccer player. And it was really neat what it was his determination that did it. So a couple of questions came from our audience. It's like, what would be the ABCs of starting over? Emmanuel, you want to handle that one?
Man, so the ABCs are starting over, and then what particular are we starting over from again
Just
specifically?
from a disappointment, or
Oh,
yeah, you know, I
yeah, man. I would definitely say that for one, just take it to God because for one, there's a reason why you may have missed the mark or you may have failed to begin with, or maybe there's a lesson to learn in that, and it's not really just failure as a whole. So I think taking time and just taking it to God straight ahead will kind of sort things out to begin with. And then practically speaking, I am, and maybe we can talk about this a little bit later, but I'm a big proponent of taking baby steps, mini habits along the way. So if something as far as goal attainment, breaking up that goal into small pieces and kind of working towards that, having a support group as well to encourage you when things get discouraging once again. And just to uplift you and love on you, really. So, small steps, environment; those are two personal things that I practice personally. And then, of course, taking it to God in prayer and allowing Him to untangle whatever
Yeah.
disappointment might be there.
Good.
You know
That's
what I
the
mean?
wisdom that I love. That's why we bring you,
well,
Emmanuel.
well, let's just talk about it. What would be a baby step? Let's jump into it, Emmanuel.
Yeah, let's do it then. So, I'm a big proponent of mini habits, and I have a fitness website, dailyfitfoods.com, that I started no, dang, I think it's going on 4 years
Yeah, it's
now. And it started
longer.
off as a blog post. And one of the things that I talk about on there was mini habits. That is breaking down your goal to a task that's so small that it's almost impossible not to do. A clear example would be because I read a book and it really inspired me. And I don't know what the name of the book was. I think it's actually called Mini Habits. You can Google search it. But there was this guy who he was out of shape, probably had some other things going on in his life. And he decided that because he couldn't get to the gym consistently, he decided that he was going to get in push up position for 1 second every night before he went to sleep. So, I mean, you would think like doing something that small wouldn't have an effect, but after a while, he got into push up position one night and he said, well, I'm already in push up position. I might as well get down and do one push up. And then he did that. So he started doing one push up each night. Before that, he said, well, maybe I can do two. And it started to escalate and escalate. And long story short, I mean, this guy ended up like running marathons and stuff and just had all these sorts of athletic feats from just starting off small. And what starting off small does and having and establishing many habits, something very small over a period of time, is that it builds momentum, which is a big, big underrated
I
factor
definitely want to
in any
testify.
goal. Yeah.
I want to testify to that because my spiritual walk literally started like this. My mom brought me a Bible. She saw what I was liking going to college group, which is where I met E Man, by the way. Um,
Yeah.
and she saw I had an interest in church, right? So she brought me a Bible. but I'm far from a reader. Far from a reader. So the first few times I opened the Bible, it was just overwhelming. Overwhelming. And I wanted to give up. I did give up. I'm like, okay, I'm not going to read this. I'm just going to live out the Bible, even though I didn't know what was in there.
Right.
So
Right.
then I gave myself a mission to just read until I got something. Till I got something I could try to live out. And it would be little sections. It would be sometimes one verse. And I'd be like, okay, I'm going to go live that today. And that's literally how I started reading the Bible. Every day I would read a little
Yeah.
section and I would try to live
Yeah.
it out. And that has ended up in now I read the Bible daily for fun.
Yeah,
But it
Yeah.
started small.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
love what we're just talking about because we're talking about that baby step. People ask me a lot of sometimes about how do I, and this is for you, Manuel, too, how do I keep increasing my weight? And then one of the things I tell them is, well, are you writing down where you've been?
Yeah.
Because if you
Yeah.
don't know where you've been, you have no place to go. So I
Right.
tell people,
Right.
write down, and if it's so if you're training with a 35 pounds, last workout, maybe consider go to 37 and a half, which is 2.5 pound, the smallest increment that you can find in the gym. Just
Right.
start to increase. So I think we're answering our readers, our listeners, our audience, that start with the small things, but then
Yeah.
progress like you did with your spiritual walk.
Mm-hmm.
You started
Yeah.
by reading until you got something, and then you put it in practice. So I
Yes.
love it.
Yeah.
So
So E-Man, oh, I call him E-Man. You guys, his name is Emmanuel, but I will forever call him E-Man until he tells me to stop. But
Word. Word. Forever. Forever.
but he's
ask him the
always.
question.
Oh yeah, though you want the first question. Okay, let's hit you with this. Tell
Okay.
us something that no one knows about you. Something quirky, something nerdy, maybe something that no one else knows that maybe we don't know either. We want to hear it
And keep it clean.
Um. Oh. Well. Yeah.
always.
Oh man, a lot. I don't know if I can't say no one. Most people, most listeners won't know this. But I'm actually a pretty avid salsa dancer. For the
Oh,
last
really?
3 years.
That's a perfect one.
Yeah.
We might
Me and
have to
my
have him
wife have
break
been
that out one
practicing
time.
for. I actually started going to. I had an old coworker who was going. And I was like, yeah, that sounds cool. And I tried it out. This is about 4 years ago. So I was taking it for 2 years already before me and my wife started dating at the time, and then she started going as well too. So it's kind of been our thing that we like to do
So when you go to
on the low.
weddings and stuff, you guys go out and show off, kind of like.
Yeah, yeah, we're that couple. Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, I just saw they just visited New Orleans or something like that, didn't you?
We did.
You
We
guys are
did.
probably
Yeah, we had
throwing
some
out.
church friends out there and we went and had a good time. And I mean, man, the dancing is the music is such a big part of the culture. The live music, dancing. I mean, we were walking down the streets and you'll see like, guys twirling their dance partners all over the street. I'm just like, man, where am I? So it's kind of cool to kind of fit into that vibe, going a couple of steps with my wife and stuff. It's cool.
So you've actually started there, and I'm sure that was small steps. Were they?
Oh yeah. So speaking of small steps, like man, it takes a while. I mean, I remember my first salsa dance class. It was just doing a two-step side to side for like 2 hours or so like that. And
Oh no.
the thing about starting off small that I haven't mentioned as well is that it also ingrains things. It automates movements for us in our subconscious mind. And so before you know it, man, you've done the same simple dance for so long, the same simple two steps for so long that it becomes second nature. Now it's hard for me not to, you know,
So,
kind of
so
get in that groove whenever I
I,
hear music.
okay, so I want to get into because I know a lot about you, but I know a lot of the audience might not. So, few things. For one, I'm going to give them a little overall of your journey. You're a
Okay.
professional fitness trainer, right? That's like
Yeah. Yeah.
that's part of your resume. But you had to get there, and watching this
Yeah.
guy grow, you've always been very respectful. You've always taken school serious, taking your fitness serious. You've been a stand-up human, a prayer warrior, and I want to know how did that happen? What's your childhood like? Who are your influences? What made you who you are?
What made me who I am, man? I talked about environment earlier, and I was fortunate enough to get raised in a very strong Christian household and upbringing. I'm the youngest of four, and I'm originally from Los Angeles, California. So, I mean, there was no question like I like to say that I've been going to church negative 9 months, like from birth till high school. I went to church all the time and got really ingrained in that. College happened. I went up north to Fresno State for 5 years, and then that's when I had to kind of find God for myself or see that it was real for myself, more than a head knowledge, but more of an experiential knowledge. And so I like to like my journey with God. I like to start it like toward. I like to date it back to that last year at Fresno State, 2011, which is when I graduated, moved to Bakersfield, and found Valley Bible. And so, man, just fellowshipping with you guys, like J2 said just now. We met at the church. That's where me and J2 met, and all of my brothers that I still hang with, Jeff, Shane, Rich, all those guys. And so, man, it's been a journey to be able to, walk with God by yourself until He leads you to a church, and there was a alone period that was very valuable for me when I first or before I first got to Valley Bible. So yeah,
Awesome.
man, it's been a blessing, dude. It really
Yeah, and
has.
I want to take that opportunity because you even mentioned our friend Jeff who just moved away to Hawaii,
Yeah,
and
to
then we
Hawaii
have
now.
Emmanuel who's in Houston now, and it reminded me. Pastor Tom was talking to me about what book are you bringing today, and I'm like, Tribal Influence is the perfect one
Yeah.
because Pastor Ron wrote this about how we all have different tribes, and when you find someone within your tribe, you relate to them,
Mm,
and that's when you flourish. And though we move apart, you're still VBF.
Yeah.
You're still part of that
hmm
tribe. Whatever
Yeah,
this movement is we're a part of, you're still part of it. We're just
yeah,
spreading out throughout the nation. And I just love it. So if you
yeah,
haven't checked out Tribal Influence, check it out.
It's a
yeah,
great
for sure, man. I appreciate that.
it's a great book because it brings in experiences that other people have. It's like I know you, Emmanuel, but people just expect, since I was in bodybuilding and I competed at the professional level, that I'm a
Yeah,
professional trainer. I help
right.
people, but I don't count sets and reps. I write
Yeah,
workouts, but this isn't my gig. I know how to work with me, and I can help other people. If they say, well, how does it take to get big? I can tell them lift weights. But this is a profession for you. I mean, it's a little deeper than that. It is. It
yeah,
is.
yeah, yeah.
So tell us that experience, Emmanuel, with you and how you integrate your personality, your faith, everything else in what you do.
Yeah. So, man, it's me and God. I haven't always believed in God, like as far as again experiential knowledge, more like a head knowledge, like I know God's real, but it's like I've always known that He was around. It's so weird.
Yeah.
And the more that I got to know who He truly was, His character, as I start to read the Bible more, then I can even look back into my past experience and see that God's been with me along the whole way. And so,
Awesome.
man, when your walk is in when your life is centered around your walk with God, God's involved in everything that you do. And I had to like I kind of came to a revelation a while ago that the only reason I have a passion for fitness is because God was first passionate. Now He's living like we
Yeah.
get to
Ooh.
be excited about the same thing, which is something, a gift, a talent that He's given me, a passion that He's given me with lifting weights. So, interestingly enough, in 2011, when I first got to Valley Bible Fitness, or when I first got to Bakersfield, and shortly after to the church, man, I was working at a high school out there, Garces High School,
Okay.
and I was staying by myself. I just graduated from Fresno, and again, it was just me and God, just kind of just chilling, getting to know one each other, reading the Word all the time. And because I only worked with high schoolers, the only way that I could get out of the house was either going shopping, grocery shopping, or going to the gym. At the time, I didn't lift weights, but I knew enough to like do dumbbell curls, and so man, me and God would just go in fellowship and do dumbbell curls. That was the only exercise that I knew how to
Interesting.
do for a while. That was the only exercise I was comfortable doing in public. And then
Because of
after
those
a
guns.
while, yeah, 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 yeah. Now the result looks good, right? But just taking that everyday step with God, and just now I see things as it's not just me doing it, it's us doing it. So whether it's working out, whether it's hanging with friends, whether it's um, playing fantasy football in me and Justin's
Oh
league.
yeah.
I know, Jesse, I know you're not the only one that's been praying for wisdom with your rosters and stuff.
Always.
But whatever it is, I always am excited to be able to do it passionately with my walk with God. It's so like I can't separate. I can't separate Christ with fitness. It's like it's one.
So
It's what
great.
we do. It's what we enjoy to do. And from there, man, it's just been a blessing. Dude, God opens up so many doors in life. He also has closed some doors, but even looking back, those doors have ended up to be blessings in disguises. And so,
Yeah, I
you
mean,
know,
there's a few things I want to get into. There's some clientele that I was very interested in
yeah,
that you work with, so I want to get into that. But first, I want to help our audience because you are a professional fitness trainer, and a lot of people don't have access to
Yeah.
someone like you like that. So if you
yeah.
could give a tip to someone who's struggling to get in shape right now, they're struggling to get it together. What is something from the professional view that they could start doing today or tomorrow to start changing their lifestyle and getting it back on track? Come on.
Man, well, this is the perfect segue because I've actually been working on some things as far as how to answer this question. And J2, you were actually my last podcast guest before I
Yes.
decided to go on a hiatus. And for those who don't know, I have a fitness podcast called the People Like You podcast. And basically, I would bring people on, and I'm going to continue it later on, probably the end of the year, but I would bring people on to share their fitness stories. Um, just so that people have somebody that they can relate to,
I
like,
love
oh,
that.
I'm a mom with three kids. Oh, I don't know anything about diet, or I'm a person that's in medical school. That person's just like me. How are they keeping up with their fitness? What are some things that they're doing? And so these are the type of tools that I like to use. And the biggest thing that I've been working on, I actually just finished it. I'm doing uh, an 8 week academy. It's pretty much like fitness for beginners. It's called the Daily Fit Handbook, and pretty much we go day to day. And I just finished doing it myself, recording it, but going day to day, encouraging, giving small tips, home workout videos. And this is something that's very near and dear to my heart. It's probably not going to be fully published for another year, but one of the things that, and we kind of talked about it already too, for the person that's struggling, that can't seem to get into an exercise fitness routine, we talked about already, and that's just starting
Start.
off
Yeah.
small. Give yourself credit just for getting to the gym. I'm a checklist guy, and so if I have a calendar, and I'll check things off. And once, as soon as you see those checks starting to line up, you start to feel that momentum. And so, a big proponent is doing what you can, being comfortable. Again, when I first went to the gym, I only knew one exercise, but I did it anyways because I just wanted to do something. And so that's what the podcast is designed for. That's what dailyfitboost.com is designed for. I have a ton of blogs on there. I have a ton of videos. I even go as far as to like show how to use different exercise equipment so that you feel more comfortable in the gym environment. So this is a passion project that I decided to do with my parent, because my parents, they're older and retired, and they had a gym membership and they didn't know what to do with it. So that's when God put it on my heart to start doing fitness tips and fitness blogs and beginner tips and tricks and things to
Yeah.
get people rolling and build that momentum. So, man, I hope this handbook gets finished in the next year or so. I just have to edit it, but I think that's going to be something to bless people as well. So,
Awesome.
just
We will
starting
be
off
looking
small,
out for
J2.
that.
Yeah,
Now,
yeah.
now, now you're big clientele because I love the way he said this. So he dropped two football player names that are like I'm fanboy after, but and he just said it nonchalantly in my driveway, like, yeah, I just worked out with so and so, and I'm like, bro, give me a card or something. What are you doing? But share some of your clientele and what's it like working with elite athletes? That's like, are they clearly set apart from your average person genetically? Have you noticed some things? Like, let us know. I want to know. This is my question.
Yeah, yeah, man. So it's been a blessing here in Houston, and I've been able to be blessed to do what I love and what I went to school for, which is strength and conditioning, fitness. And so to be able to do it at the high end level, and work in the same atmosphere as guys that are pro level athletes like J.J. Watt and freaking Jadavian Clowney and George Springer and all these big names, it's really
See, oh
humbling. It's
my
awesome. And
gosh,
just like,
crazy.
yeah, it's really cool. And I mean, I know my stuff pretty well, but you still go in with a humble attitude. And there's tons of mentorships from older coaches who you're able to kind of pick information and knowledge off of. But Yeah, these guys are the guys that are even not even just the elite athletes, but the guys who are able to make it to the pro level period, even if they're like the last guy on the
Mm.
bench, they're so athletically gifted that there's a lot of things you can't teach. And what we basically do is just kind of work on the little nuances so that we can, work on their posture so they can get every little bit of juice out of their talent. But a lot of it is God given talent. A lot of it is hard work. All these guys have incredible work ethic. And yeah, man, it's been a blessing to be around. It really
Yeah,
has.
I'll never forget. I went to a D League tryout once. I've always been pretty good at basketball, around your average people, right?
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
go to this
We've
open
had our
gym.
battles.
Yeah, oh, we had some battles. I go to this open gym in San Jose for the D League, and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna show them what I got. And for one, I ended up being like the shortest person there. And I just wanted to go home from day one. There's a different level of athletic ability that I found out is in the world. And I was humbled, and I
Man,
went to
yeah,
church.
yeah. Yeah, man. When you it's interesting being in an environment of people who their athletic ability is actually their livelihood, albeit a relatively short life. I think like the average NFL career is like 4 to 8 years or something like that.
Mm.
But the attention to detail, the focus, the dedication that they put in, time out, is just amazing. It really is.
Well,
Yeah.
do you have like an experience where you saw the light bulb go on with them because you brought something to the table that maybe they never thought about, they never incorporated? Do you have a moment like that with one of those athletes?
Not the higher end guys, but for some of our college guys and even some of our high school guys, we see a lot of opportunity to strengthen their hips and their glute muscles. A lot of people, if you were to jump off a chair or a couch and do a squat, chances are your knees will go over your toes. And traditionally, in order to generate the most power, you want to be able to squat from your glutes. And so you'll see little nuances like that, like making sure their hips are back and everything. There are a lot of speed in the drills that, again, I mean, we're trying to like squeeze every bit of juice out. So I mean, we're trying to get them from like zero point 0.4 seconds to zero point 0.3 seconds on something like these small, tiny windows at the higher levels. And yeah, man, it's it's incredible. I
Different
haven't really
world.
had any chance to like correct any like the bigger guys. They know what they're supposed to do. They just, I mean, you just give them the regular stuff that they already know,
So,
and they regurgitate it and pick up on it really fast.
so I
So
got a question, and I love to
yeah,
ask this for our guests. You open the door by saying that you've even had doors that were closed on you that turned into a blessing. Do you mind talking about that?
yeah. So I'm a very logical person, and I want to know why things go bad so I can avoid them. And if
Yeah.
they do go bad, I want to know why, right? And sometimes in the moment, you don't always get a why. But that's how trust is developed, right? That's how we're reminded that God is smarter than us ultimately. I mean, you look back, I mean, in the moment, you can't see the full picture of what God's doing in your life. And so, oftentimes I've been able to look back at disappointments, whether it was a
Yeah.
relationship or a job that I didn't get, or, when things just don't go your way, there's certain ways to look at it. And so thankfully I'm not the best at it, but thankfully I've been able to get to a point to where I'm able to, like it says in Philippians, be thankful in all things, Philippians 4, 6, and 7. And that kind of changed my perspective. It reminds me that my life is found in God and not in a girl or a job or a dream or anything like that. And always circles me back to what this whole thing is about. And that's life in Christ. So um, being able to hold on to that, it at least takes the burn away from a closed door or a disappointment like you opened up with earlier at the beginning of this. And it at least gives you some perspective as a starting point. So
Yeah.
Okay,
I don't know if that,
I have something I want to get into
yeah,
also because you are something I'm very passionate about, a newlywed. And
yeah,
I'm all about us men being married and committing to this life. And something that stands out in your life, I think every man watching can relate to, and every woman too, in a different way. You're writing that the handbook, you're working with all these athletes. You clearly have to spend time on your body to be that fit. How are you balancing wife, home life, and all the business ventures and fitness? Because I think our people watching, they're trying to balance either their
Yes.
work life, their activity life, and their marriage. And someone like you doing all that might have some advice for them in what you found out in life.
Dang, man, I'm humbled
Come
by
on.
this question, man. It shows I'm doing something right, man. Sometimes I'm so like neurotic and just like all these racing thoughts. And I mean, ask my wife, I'm running around the house all day trying to get things done. And man, as far as the fitness aspect, and I'll just kind of like go down the list of things that I juggle and balance. As far as the fitness aspect is concerned, I made a decision probably about 8 years ago that I want to be able to work out and exercise and be active for the rest of my life.
Yes.
80s, 90s, God willing. And so that's something that's a part of me. And through the years, with like ups and downs and stuff, you learn how to be flexible. If you miss a workout one week,
Yes.
double up next week. And so,
Mm,
I mean, man, I mean, I don't have kids right now, so I was going to say, thankfully, I don't have kids. We want to have kids eventually, but as far as being able to balance all that stuff out, I have it, or I have my routine already. I know body weight workouts that I can do at home if I can't make it to the gym, and I mean, it's almost as if like it's kind of like saying like, man, you have all these things going on in your life. How can you still like brush your teeth? It's just like, well, I kind of do it every day, so
yeah, it's
I'll
a
figure
part of
out a
your
way.
life.
Whether it's so I juggled that out with that. So thankfully, my wife is already active. I met her at the gym, ironically, and so
Interesting.
that's something that we both kind of been able to like do together. Again, salsa dancing is one of our exercises that we like to do. We also go hiking a lot, and so I think now that I'm talking and thinking about it now, I think that I try to be able to do as many common things with her so that it
Yes.
doesn't seem like this is my time and then this is our time and then I have to go to
That's
work. Like,
good.
nah, man, we're blessed enough to be able to be working from home right now. Or I'm not. Well, she's working from home, and I work intermittently throughout the day, so we have time there. We're able to exercise during the day. We're able to do all the things that we still enjoy, and I think I just got lucky because I just found somebody that likes to do the same stuff as I do.
Awesome.
Did that answer your question, dude? I don't know. It's a
It
good
does.
question.
It
Those
does.
are
Well, it kind of brings in a point that as we do have relationships, we have to recognize that there's a order to that. I mean, we
right.
believe as believers that God sits at the top of that, then
Yeah.
your spouse, your children, and then yourself. Pastor Jim did a message one time that said it's about God, others, than you. And I think that's what you're saying. You found
Yeah.
somebody that you can keep in that order and that you do when it comes to each other, you kind of find that relationship.
Yeah.
I can speak from the older side. I got two kids who are out of the house, one in Tennessee, one in Orange County. And my wife and I looked at each other when Tessa went to college and we're like, we like each other still. It's like we
Right.
made it through those
Yeah. Yeah.
seasons, and we're like, really? Like, I realized when I first saw my wife, I was like, holy guacamole, I
Yeah.
like you,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and I
Yeah.
could still say that 28 years later. My
Yes.
wife is
Yeah.
still va 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 voom for me. And I
Yes.
think as you keep those priorities, I think you can still keep that relationship and still have those. I mean, I
Yeah.
do believe that's
And
part of
for
it.
and for the young men watching, this is a constant theme that you'll find throughout all us married men. It's never just about a pretty face. Beauty is
No.
fleeting.
Yeah.
You have to find a
Yeah.
woman who loves the Lord, and you have to find someone with common interests that will work with your life. And so often I
Yeah.
think us men settle with just she was so pretty, and that it doesn't end at that. There's
What
tons of pretty
happened?
girls.
I
Yes,
I tell my kids, you marry for love. You
yes.
can't marry for wealth or looks because both of those will fade.
They're
They will do
fleeting.
that.
Mm.
It's biblical.
Yeah, it is. Let me ask this, Emmanuel. So when you left Valley Bible Fellowship, you were single, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So when you got to Texas, what was it like when you found a church there? Did you find a church
Have
to
you
plug
found a
into?
home church yet?
Actually, when by the time I left Bakersfield, I was engaged
Okay.
already.
Yes.
But by the time I got here to Houston, um, I ended up finding a church home through a coworker, and he would tell me about the town and stuff and things that he did, and it turns out that he was involved in this newlywed marriage class at his church.
Oh wow.
It's a pretty big church, like Valley Bible, and so Houston's First Baptist. Sorry. So it's a pretty big church, and so me and Clarissa, we were very enamored by this idea of a newlywed class, like a 1 year seminar class. And man, that's been a tremendous blessing. We've been able, especially when you're moving to a big city, that's been a tremendous blessing to be able to meet other young couples who are just right where you're at, or young engaged couples as well too. So that was a quick plug. That happened like maybe like 2 weeks from when I moved out here.
Okay.
Did you find that to be a blessing?
Oh man, massively. Because one thing about Clarissa is that she's extremely extroverted, has to be around people, and we enjoy our alone time. But by default, she loves community, she loves friendship, she loves family, on a high scale. And so that was priority number one for me, to get her comfortable around people that she can let her guard down, that are going through the same thing as her. From a young marriage standpoint, and also have a relationship with God as well too. So I've been able to also see the benefit with that, with meeting others. Yeah, it's been awesome.
Okay. The question I've been asking a lot of our guests before we let them go is, what's in store for the future? I know your handbook, but what else? What else do you see going on in Emmanuel's life? You got another? Oh yeah, Pastor Tom has a book he wants.
I was
going to
plug this book. It's by Erwin McManus, and it says The Last Arrow, and it's talking about squeezing everything that God has for you in this life out of life. And so I kind of think that that's your life principle, isn't it, Emmanuel? It's almost like, do you have a life verse or a quote or a motto that you live by? Like you said, what's next?
What's next?
Yeah. Man, I guess it's not really a motto, but it's more so a lifestyle for me. Just taking it back to Genesis, man, just walking with God in the cool of the day. And it's so amazing that, like, to be able to know God on a standpoint that's not in church. So like, yeah, we're aware of God at church, but what happens like when we're at the grocery store or the gas station or the gym? Man, God's still with us, and I've gotten to this mode of just kind of fellowshipping with Him about His life, just like Adam at the beginning before the fall and stuff. I mean, because you think about it, like, sin has been taken away in Christ already, and so man, we're back to square one, and I'm just fellowshipping with God, and I get such a buzz like when I see that He's actually interested in the things that I'm interested. Like, it means so much to me when I see that God is just opening up doors for things that I didn't even pray about, that I didn't even think He cared about, didn't mention to Him at all. And just the little nuances of life and stuff like that, it really has brought me back to a place of father and sonship. And so, yeah, man, that's my biggest. It's not really a motto. Again, it's more so like a mindset or a reality or something that I practice each day. Just spending. I mean, like, man, I don't know about you, Pastor Tom, but man, there's been times where I've been at the gym working out, and man, I'll get a revelation out of nowhere, like in the middle of a rep, like, man, 6,
Dear God,
7. Yo, that's the answer. And then you just push it through. It's just like, it is kind of like humorous in a way to see that, man, God's always talking. He's always working. He's always there with us, man. Yeah.
Good stuff, man. Well, I know what I'm praying for your future. I'm praying that you take it to Genesis and be fruitful and multiply. That's what I'm praying for you. That's what I'm a proponent of.
Justin's got 4, so he's the guy to call.
I know, he got he's a 4-0 on me right now.
Is there anything that you want to leave our audience with, Emmanuel, as we close out?
Yeah, for sure. I kind of mentioned it. It's my fitness website, and if you're somebody who, I'm very passionate about people who want to work out but don't know what to do. I don't really buy with people who want to make excuses, but people like my parents who legit want to work out but didn't have the tools, didn't know what they were doing, didn't have any motivation how to start. And so if that's you, my website is dailyfitboost.com. There's blogs, there's videos, there's a bunch of encouragement on there. My favorite part of the site is the People Like You podcast. J2 was ironically my last guest before I went on a hiatus for the handbook. And so you can find somebody just like you along your fitness path that you can relate to. And that's my goal, is to find people like you that you can listen to and say, wow, this person's just like me. Oh, wow, this person has a worse situation than me, and they're still able to go to
Yeah,
the gym three
so
times.
true.
Wow, now I see how. And that's what I'm passionate about. And man, I'm just blessed to be able to do that. So that will be it. And then the handbook again, man. If you guys are happy on again when it's done, I would
For
love to share
sure.
more of that after
For
I finish
sure.
producing it
Love
and
to do
stuff.
Yeah.
that.
But
All
yeah,
right. Well, you
and
guys watching,
yeah,
check
that's
them
it.
out. Check out
Yeah.
dailyfitboost.com. We'll try. I'll put it in on my page. I'll make sure I tag it in there for you
Oh
guys.
yeah, I
Okay.
appreciate this, man. This is fun.
Hey, if you guys have any questions out there, email us, Pastor Tom at vbf.org.
Jay Greer at vbf.org. What's the best way to get to you, Emmanuel? Email
You
it.
can find me on Instagram at Daily Fit Boost, or you can
There we
find
go.
me on Facebook at Emmanuel Osiseri.
I
Okay,
love
for
it.
sure.
I love it.
Thank you guys for watching.
Yeah.
This was Lunch Break.
Have a great day.